Let's open up the meeting, make a motion. Let's see.
Yeah.
We're gonna start. Oh, hello, Leland.
There he is.
So this is our 21st meeting. Has everyone had a chance to take a look at the minutes that Jerry had put together for us?
Yep.
Yeah. Is there any comments, questions? Any kind of, does anybody have? Since I don't hear anybody with any, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes. Do we get a second? Okay, Leland. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
So those minutes have been approved. The second line on the agenda was for our guest Michael Burns. As you said, Jerry, he is on.
Yes, he is. I'll bring him in so that he can
Okay.
speak. Just a moment. All right, he should be on. There he is.
There you go,
Mike, Mike, unmute yourself.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got you unmuted now.
How you doing, Mike?
Good
I'm
enough,
Chris.
thank you.
Good. I'm Chris Sorensen. I'm the chair of the Agricultural Commission.
Mhm.
These are the members, as you see here, that are on. And what was brought to us, you had some questions on the personal property tax issue. And
Was there,
Yeah.
probably, but a couple of years ago, well, up until 2 years ago, and I've been filing, property part, and I know there's an exemption that goes with that. And, for the farm part, I'm only on 2.5 acres, but I actually use 2 acres of that for farming. But according to the rules, that not all of it is taxed farm. But then 2 years ago, I was asked to submit a personal property itemization, like pens and pencils and whatever, things that I would not, and even tools like a fork. Not materials that, given our size, we don't track that stuff. We use it up mostly. And even my computer. And I asked the new tax person, I said, well, why is this? And she just said, well, it's a state law. And we're supposed to file this. And the fact that we haven't been filing it, not me, but said that the town hadn't been seeking it, was not the town's problem. It was our problem. And I just think it's a really nickel and dime operation to do that. I mean, it cost me an extra $28 of taxation last year. And I kind of had to guess mostly what the personal property was that was related. But I just think that it's a yellow flag for farmers. It's not if indeed the town is committed to farming, and if indeed the state is committed to farming, and the state does, compensate the town for farming, why do this nickel and dime personal property thing? It seems excessive and it's a real hassle to, if nothing else, it takes as much time to fill that out as it does, most of the other kind of filings that I have to do. And that you add that to the USDA surveys and all of that, it's just more paperwork for something that is just not generating much for the town and takes me more than it does the town. So that's why I thought I'm not the only farmer in town, so everybody must be, you all and everybody else except for Steve probably has to do this. So That's what I thought I should raise the yellow flag and say, isn't this the commission's purview to think about and talk about?
I know I have to fill it out every year, Mike, and I know I get, taxed a certain percentage on some equipment, and some physical structures. Um, I don't know what, some of the other people are doing, but I know for myself, I know that's what's happening. Think we do get um, at least I do, we get a different, taxation rate as a farm versus property, generally. So, I think overall, I guess, um, I guess that's it's a state and a town requirement that we have to do that. I can look into it a little farther for you and see if there's, you know, where we start talking about exemptions and how far, but as far as I know, I've always had to do it that way. I don't know about some of the other people here, but, that's where I am. Steve, do you have any comments on any of this?
I don't have to do this, because I don't own the property. I'm not a property
Right.
owner. It doesn't come
Right.
up for us.
And you're
So
tax
I'm,
exempt.
yeah. So and we're taxed. I mean, we have other taxes, but this is not something that we deal with. So, Mike, the form it's the personal property tax exemption. I want to make sure I know which form it is that we're talking about, so I can look into it. Do you have the sort of form number or the what they're asking? It's because I see some codes. I was looking this up before, and I just want to make sure. There's a form M15, um, and so I just want to make sure I know what exactly the form we're referring to.
You're always looking, Steve.
I'm looking.
Yeah, well, and I'll ask Jerry. I guess I would sort of wonder about asking the new assessor on that. Like if I don't know if they would come to a future meeting or to explain if they can explain the rationale or the change that Mike's experienced or
Right, and realize that it's distinct from the personal property declaration that does the farm exemption. That's
Mhm.
that's the form UID 40014. That's distinct. That's the one that if I have a tractor, which I
Yeah.
don't have anymore, but if I had a tractor, I would add that. And if I had tools, I would add that on there. This is a different thing that asks about if you have a computer, it doesn't say that specifically, but if you had a computer, how much percentage of the computer would be used for the farm, for instance?
Are you
So,
talking about the form that we have to file in by like November 1st every year? Is that the one you're talking about, Mike?
yeah, but again, it's not the one that it's let's see. I'm trying to distinguish it from the one that's actually for a business where the farm is treated as a business. Let's go ahead.
I know you can up to $100,000 in one of the forms there for the state is tax exempt.
Yeah, well, I didn't, this was an additional item. And it specifies that you have to add things like your desk and your laptop and your chair and your pencils and I was,
You don't have a form number in the beginning there?
well, it seems to be it's some type of an attachment to the 40014 form.
Um,
And there was an additional, I mean, I did not file this up until just 2 years ago, so.
so the assessors mailed that to you and you had to
Yep.
return it back? And then you got a tax an additional $28, is that correct?
Correct. I was not being taxed for the farm part. And actually, it came in a letter which said, Dear taxpayer, when completing a business personal property declaration, consider the following. Filing with language such as no asset, zero value, blah, blah, blah. anything used with the business. And then it said examples are area rugs, artwork, counters, cabinets, furniture, fixtures, dyes, molds, machinery, equipment, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. IRS,
That sounds like,
anything.
that sounds like for a business, not a farm, Mike.
It was attached to for,
Yeah.
and I would agree with you, but I went to the assessor and she said, this is required for farms. So I will assure you, it's irritating enough that I added the manila envelope and the label when I submitted this particular form this year. And then
Yeah.
added the 23 cents to illustrate that I had done the accounting. But anyway, that's just petty. I was being petty.
I'm gonna talk to the assessor, Mike. So at our next meeting, I can come back with, an answer for you as to what you, have been given, so I have an idea, you know what I mean? So I'm better prepared to try to give you an answer or try to help you out in any way, Mike.
Okay, well, I think it's about all the farms and, what we're required to include or not include. Prior to that, it was just a regular Form M-28, which was about farm machinery and all that.
Right, yes. Yep,
But this was a new letter that outlined all of the rest of the stuff that I read to you. And it does not have a number to it. It's just a letter.
that sounds like that form is for other forms of business that they get a personal property tax on, and they apply that to the farm.
I would agree, and my reason I'm raising it to the commission is because it's farming,
Yeah,
period.
yeah.
Right. Anyway,
Mike,
yeah.
I just for my own farm business, I haven't had that addendum included. I do have the farm machinery exemption that's sent to me. So I do wonder if either it was perhaps given in error and they just didn't want to say that when you talk to the assessor, or which might not be the case, or if we all are supposed to be filing that form, that as you had said, that it's the onus of the business owner to file. So it makes sense to for us all to be looking into this, but also just so you know, one of the reasons why I didn't know how to answer your question when it first came in was because that particular form I haven't seen.
Thank you. I agree. This is the second year I've ever seen it. So, and I've been farming for 20 years. So,
And it came just attached with your declaration form?
yep. And I went back down to the assessor and said, why are we doing this? And she said, because the state says it. So I
think we gotta look into it a little, Mike, to give
Yeah.
you back some.
Just before we,
Yeah.
is,
go ahead,
Mike, do
Andrea.
you have access to the link to the chat box? And if so, are you willing to click the second link shared in the chat box and see if this was the 2022 form? If so, in the instructions of this form, when under, who should file and declaration, it says businesses, occupations, farmers, and professionals need to complete. And then it says which pages of this long form they need to complete.
Yeah.
If this is, if you're able to see and let us know if this is the form that could save, be a little, save us some time and we can maybe get to the bottom of this quicker.
Well, I see a bunch of forms, right? The The personal property short form, the personal property long
This
form?
is a yeah, and the second link I sent was the long form, personal property long form.
Okay,
And on page 2, under instructions,
mm-hmm,
and it farmers and what page 3 of this long form, these
yep.
listing report. So are those, if you scroll down to those pages, are those what you were filing or what you were
This
asked to
is what I've
file?
been filing for 15 or 20
Okay.
years. But the letter is distinct from this, right? There's an additional
Okay.
letter.
Okay. Okay,
That
so
letter is
this
not
though
included.
isn't, okay, but like on page 5, number 18, it says farm tools.
Yep, I've been
Um,
filing
and it
that.
even, okay.
Yep,
S- Okay,
yep, I'm with you on that. I have been dutifully filing. Dutifully.
yes, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to imply that I'm
Yeah,
questioning
no,
that
I
you're
know, you're trying
filing,
to
I'm
find your
just, yes.
But the letter looks much more like this. If that's at all visible.
Okay. It is.
Okay. There's no number, it just, not even a date, but it came 2 years ago, so we're on the second year of filing this.
Hmm. So it was almost like a letter to remind you to fill out form page 5 and or something.
Yeah,
Okay,
yep.
interesting. Um, such a letter, however, my farm is in such infancy that we don't, sell enough to really declare anything notable, and we lease most of the land on which we farm.
Well, I would have thought,
from some-
$2,000 of annual income wouldn't be that big either, but. Oh.
Right. I mean, I would have tend to agree with that. Okay.
There it
So
is.
I think, sure, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Andrea.
Well, I feel like I have some clarity now as to what the question or kind of the predicament is. It's that you were told but a letter encouraging, calling out certain details of the form that's already filed.
Yep.
I think we can easily follow up with the assessor's office to gain some clarity on the distribution of that letter approximately 2 years ago. But it otherwise, and I'm curious as to what we can, I feel like we need more information to know how many people were notified and are being affected by this and what the intent. You bringing this to our attention, Mike. Thank you for thinking of us.
Mhm.
I think, after talking to the assessor, I think we could get a little bit more or clearer concept of what it was stating and how we can move forward with this, Mike, and try to help you out and
That's
try
all
to
I
help
could
other
ask.
people.
Yep,
And then we could get back to you on the next meeting.
no problem.
Is that good with you?
Yeah, yeah. I don't even need to be in the next meeting. I just wanted to
but
raise it and say, see what's possible.
Yeah, but I think it's important that we follow up on this, Mike, and then see where see where it takes us and see what kind of information we, find from all of this.
Hmm.
Okay?
Okay, that's
Thank
good.
you. Thank you very much, Mike, for bringing this to our
Alrighty.
attention.
Yep.
And we'll move forward on that. I'll go see. I think her name was Marcia, I believe, who wrote the letter to you there.
Yeah.
I think her
whoever
name
the-
was Marcia.
Yeah,
So,
she's relatively new too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it is it appropriate or reasonable to ask for a copy of the letter, or do we have a copy of the letter?
I went on here to your one of the things here, and I saw some type of letter on here that I was just reading that looked pretty similar to that, where
Okay.
Marcia had signed it on the bottom. So
Hmm.
that's why I'm just gonna go just follow up on it, Andrea, and see where it goes from there.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
Okay.
All
All
right.
right. Well,
Thank you, Mike.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Mike. All
Okay,
right.
bye now.
Thanks, Mike.
All right. The next part of our agenda tonight is part of public comments. Is there anybody, Jerry, did anybody else sign on to our meeting tonight?
No, the only person that signed on is someone who is doing the video for YouTube. That's all.
Oh, okay. Okay. So since there's nobody here for public comment, we'll move forward from that. And then Andrea's. Um, Andrea, do you want to talk a little bit about that? I think you did a good job.
Oh, thank you. I mean, I don't really have anything specific to say other than I thought this was for the website, right? Not for the town news or am
Yes,
I-
that's correct.
did
The
I-
website.
okay. So no, I don't know if that's if that's satisfactory to the commission, if it achieved the goal and it meets the intention. I'm happy to take another stab at it if not, but
I thought it looked good, Andrea, and we can always upgrade it and change it as we go along. And I think that's a good start to where we're at right now. And I think in my opinion, I thought it looked very good. Anybody else happen to read it and take a look at it, and want to give Andrea your input onto it?
Yeah, I thought it was great, Andrea. Thank you. I mean, you guys are all farms that really produce and sell goods. So even clicking through those links was informative for me. So I think that achieves our goal, you know.
Yes, I guess then Andrea, Jerry, would you then submit it into for the webpage, or how would we go about, Jerry?
That's exactly what I will do.
Okay,
Excuse me. Yes, that's what I'll do.
okay,
I believe we have a new webmaster and I will show it to her and I also have taken it on to my, I downloaded it on my computer so that I can send it to her.
okay. So as the committee, I was gonna make a motion that we accept Andrea's outreach article and for Jerry then to submit it for us. I make a motion that we do that. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye,
Aye.
we're good, Jerry.
Okay,
Unanimous.
thank you.
Moving on again. We had the leasing public property. And we had a nice thing from the state, the Southbury Farm or the Southbury in Southbury, Connecticut. And they had a permit agreement and all that of agricultural land use. It was a 5-year agreement. And it's quite extensive lease here. I mean, for what I sign now to what this is, it's quite extensive and what the responsibilities are and things like that. You know, that's something maybe that the town should take a look at, you know, down the line here of what they, you know, with some of these properties that we do for a year now and how we could maybe move forward and trying to go out a little longer on the leases that we have. Looking at that state agreement. They go out 5 years and then, you know, there's options on there of and I don't know, did everyone have a chance to take a look at it? Yeah. Steve, did you take a look at it all? No? No, wait, can you hear me?
Yeah, he's on mute. I think he's coughing.
Yeah, sorry,
He
I've had a
needs a
little.
minute.
Had a
He's
little
dying
cough.
over there, Steve. Don't die on us, will you? I don't dial 911.
I'm safe. I was just coughing, so I wanted to have it on
Yeah.
mute, so I'm not hacking through
Yeah.
the video there. Sorry, I'm just coming back. I turned off for a second because I was coughing as
Yeah.
well.
I was just commenting
So-
on the lease of the lands, and I didn't know if you had a chance to look at any of those that Christina had happened to get for us from the state and how they go about leasing land out to different farmers and things like that, the terms of it and everything. And I didn't know if anybody wanted to comment on it. They had to look at it. If they need more time to look at it, we can always look at it at the next meeting as well. And I thought that was a
I
good
took a look
start.
at it.
Yeah,
You all, or you, Chris and Christina, at least certainly have more experience with these types of agreements, considering that you leased from Woodbridge, but there is a cancellation clause that I'd imagine if Woodbridge were considering developing something like this would make them feel better and more flexible about it. So I feel like that is an appealing component or would perceive that to be appealing to the Board of Selectmen. Christina, I'm curious to hear from you and what you think of this and from the commission at large to see if we want to more formally present this to the Board of Selectmen, you know, for their feedback, consideration and feedback for special scenarios like Christina's farm.
Well, the thing that I thought was interesting about this is that I think it looks like there's a lot more at stake for both the permittee and for the state. You know, it's a longer term for the state to be giving this permit out, but also the permittee is paying a little bit more money. I believe the acreage is probably bigger than the Woodbridge parcels. If it's the property that I'm
it's
thinking of, I think it's an orchard. Or is maybe being used for an orchard now. But also some of the things that the permittee is doing, I think having a business plan and agricultural use plan submitted is something that could kind of help to assure how something is used. I don't know that that's necessary in all cases for land to be used. Some of the Woodbridge lands that have been traditionally hay fields and may continue to be so might not really justify that sort of thing. But if you were thinking about developing land, making more of an investment in the farm business to be done on the land, it does make sense to present that as both preparation and justification for what those activities may be. So I think that this was just the only example I could actually get my hands on. And So I do think that it gives us some things to go with, but I don't know at this point if we need to have a few different um,
Yeah.
examples.
I would agree. I think we need to get a couple more, Christina.
Okay.
And then I think that we can play, apples to apples and see what some of the other people are doing as well.
So maybe you mentioned this and I missed it through my coughing there. But the key thing that stands out to me in this is that the Southbury land is under a conservation easement.
Yeah.
So, and that's what's different about Massaro. Like we've had a 10 year lease with 2 5-year leases, but this is in a conservation easement, which the other town owned land that has been leased, I don't believe is. So that's where
I think mine might be, at least it's an open space. I don't know if it's like the
yeah,
same.
yours might be partially, and that's where like ours and yours might also have the word though recreation in it, which Massaro does as
Yeah.
well, and that's where the ball field proposals come in. So
Mhm,
there was
mhm.
that was in the initial lease for Massaro, there was a request for there to be a ball field here as well. So
Mhm.
because the word recreation was in the easement, that was a possibility. So the farming
Right.
idea, won out, and that's what the board of selectmen decided to do. But that's what differentiates it from other municipally owned land. So I think that's where a lot of these
Mhm.
long-term leases you see, they're town owned, but then they're in an easement, and a land trust or a conservation commission has some role in deciding how it's going to be used as well. Whereas other town owned land could be moved for any other purpose potentially. But I think what we have going for us in all the leased land is that Chris, how long have you been leasing? It's been, I think all these properties have been used on 1-year leases for 20 plus years. So
Over 20 years, definitely, yes.
30, 40. So, the idea of a potential other use coming up, these things happen. You get a portion for a dog park or something comes up, but that's where the termination agreements or change of use things are in there. But usually they don't happen in the term of a year, right? A new idea doesn't come and suddenly this piece that's been farmed for 30 years becomes something else. Like it does take a little bit of time. Even the dog park took time to happen. So I think we have that going for it, that the history of use is far beyond 1 year and consistent.
And I agree with you, Steve. I think it's all about the history and how the people have been, given leases for the land because they've been good tenants of the land and they've helped the town out as well, keeping the land active, keeping it clean. And that's one less thing the town has to worry about. And it's being put to good use. And there's residents that are using the land. And the town, I think, is fair with us. But if we want to go a little bit farther, I think with anything, I think you got to have a plan. I think to bring that in front of the selectmen would be a great idea. You have to do that anyways, but to bring it in front of them and show them what you'd want to do for long term. They said they would look at it on a case by case basis. They did come back and say that to us, but now we have some type of an agreement. This one's with the state. If somebody, hey, look, I said, I want to put deer fencing around the whole 6 acres of property, and this is want to grow corn. We're going to hops for the New England brewery. I'm just making something up, but you know what I'm saying. But I need to protect it from the deer because the deer would come in and crucify you. But it takes time to grow the thing and get it established. So I think we're on the right track of trying to explain why we're looking to get longer contracts. I think the Board of Selectmen will do their due diligence as well. I think they'll listen to us if we have a proposal and do it on a case by case basis. And I think that's one of the reasons, as we'll see down in one of our last things here tonight, why we were looking at have the selectmen just come by and tour a couple of the properties. So if we could get some state funds or something, this is what we'd like to do with the funds. So I thank you, Christina, for sharing that permit agreement with us. And hopefully I'll have a few more and we could show it the next one and then maybe we can move forward on some more of this to make an approach the Board of Selectmen with something with how, what we've come up with. Does anybody else have any more comments? I think, so
Well,
we'll
I
leave it.
just,
Yeah,
I agree with what you said, Chris,
Yeah.
but the case by case basis didn't end up working out when Christina tried to secure this, to take advantage of this grant opportunity.
yeah,
So, but you're right in that we first need to present, a well-crafted, well, we've crafted a well-crafted case already, but put together, a more informed proposal. So if we can get an example that isn't a conservation easement one, maybe that would be, especially beneficial for our purposes. Christina, did Elizabeth Moore help you procure this? Did you talk to
No.
anyone in particular?
This was Diane Blaze from the NRCS.
Okay. Has anyone contacted Elizabeth Moore for maybe examples? Like I think she's with DOAG, or maybe it's Connecticut Farm Bureau.
no,
I have not.
Yeah, AFT or
Okay.
Connecticut Farmland Trust. Or maybe she's elsewhere now, but I think.
Okay.
I've gone to town by town, Andrea. That's where I've done it. Talking with
Yeah,
people.
okay.
I've talked to, even tried to get a couple hold of the ag commissions that are in some of the different towns, just to try to get some feedback and try to get some copies of different types of lease agreements or permit agreements.
Christina, you had shared previously the stuff from Land for Good, right? Because they have the. Am I imagining that, or did? Okay, maybe
think
I
we
looked it
talked
up.
about
And,
that.
okay, but they Land for Good is an agency that helps sort of transfer. So if Chris were retiring and needed to give, find someone else to take over the farm, Land for Good can kind of help match you with a successor, and then they also help work on these lease agreements. So Will O'Meara from Hungry Reapers is a rep for them, but yeah, Land for Good, not Hungry, AFT and WLA have some of these resources available on what these templates for lease agreements look like, and sometimes they engage with towns as well and town and state-owned land.
I do think that this commission has looked at whatever the template is from Land for Good.
That's right.
I don't know that I shared it. Maybe it was you, but I think we looked at it at some point.
I have not seen that, so it's something I'd like to look at.
Okay.
So I think for the next meeting, then I'll just look at a couple of these. Hopefully, I can one or two from the leads that I put out. I'll get some feedback on it. It seems like it takes forever sometimes to get some type of information back. For me, I try to keep looking and seeing what I come up.
I just want to remind us, we only have two regular meetings left in this year. And it would be, I believe it would behoove us if before we stopped meeting regularly for the year, that we had something to work with and some specific deliverable on our radar to work towards, so that we don't lose this momentum until, November or October.
Yeah. I agree with you, Andrea. I mean, it's hard to get a hold of some of these people sometimes. I'm going to tell you, they string you out there for a while.
Is there anything we could be asking, any insight or guidance we need from the board at this point yeah, are they even aware that we're still pursuing this? Maybe not. Maybe they don't need to be. I don't know.
I mean, I think it's something that we had said that we were gonna, they had told us it was gonna stay the way it was, but we haven't stopped every single meeting we've had, looking into this. So I don't think that it's ever stopped, Andrea. You know, we've always tried to move forward every meeting and try to get a little
No,
more.
I know we have. Yes, no, I didn't mean to imply that we haven't been keeping it going. I'm just, wondering if the board is aware that we're still working towards something here and hoping to provide them with something to consider.
Paul's here tonight and he's, watching, and I'm sure he'll get back to some of the members there and just tell them that, these are some of the things that we're looking into. Sometimes when they ask you, Paul, at some of your meetings, I know they used to talk about have you listened in to any of your meetings or what they're looking to do? And that's something you could give some feedback for us, that we're still looking into something that we've started quite a while ago. And through town council at the time, they said they couldn't go and do anything differently, but we're looking at trying to go down different avenues, and we're trying to get some information to bring back to them. So
and that's fine. I don't think you guys are on a deadline
okay.
for this kind of thing.
Okay.
We're free to revisit those leases at any time, really.
Yeah.
Okay. Whether the answer will change or not, I can't answer that.
Right.
Okay.
I just want you to know that we're still pursuing it. We're still looking at it. And we're going to try to come back with some good positive information, and that could be beneficial to both the town and as well as the person leasing the land.
And that's great.
Yeah.
Results, especially when you're working with commissions from other towns, these things take time. I think everybody's aware of that.
Okay.
Can anyone remind me the mechanisms by which a case-by-case appeal can be made? It was either a special town meeting, is that right? Or at the annual town meeting? I believe that there was it's not just an issue that's approved by the Board of Selectmen, it has to be done at a special.
Yes, to get a longer lease, according to the charter.
Okay.
It's considered the same as a sale of property. So
Okay.
that has to go to a town meeting. It could be a special town meeting or
The annual town meeting.
or the annual town meeting.
Thanks, Jerry. That was my understanding, but I just wanted to make sure that I
Yep,
wasn't
you were right.
forgetting the particulars.
Mhm.
Also, and this might be a better question for Jerry Weiner, but I wonder with this state lease that I sent that calls the person a permittee rather than a lessee.
Mhm.
I wonder if if we called the action something else,
Mhm.
if it would have any difference in the legal use of the land,
Mhm.
so that it wasn't a sale, for example, or wasn't treated as though it were a sale.
Mhm.
If we do decide to, if we do compile a few more lease examples, that would be a question that I would want to ask him.
That's very legitimate, Christina. That makes really good, it's a good point. And Jerry's the town attorney or town council for the town. So, I mean, that's something we'd have to bring up with him. I think that's very good. That's something we would have to, have a discussion with him.
So maybe if we can get our hands on a couple more pieces of information, or even template examples for next meeting, we could come up with a few, Andrea, just to address your kind of note about our limited time. If we could come up with a few concrete questions that we could ask and who to ask them to in the next meeting, then either at our final meeting or at a Board of Selectmen meeting or whatever the appropriate venue is. And maybe some questions would come up from the tour as well, which we haven't talked about yet, but I know it's on the docket.
That sounds good, Christina. I think that'll be good. Is there any more questions? Anybody else have any more questions? So we'll move on to the next part. I think Jerry outlined it good. We had talked about the information, which will be on the 14th of
Yes,
next month. I'm sorry.
yeah,
not this
Tim,
month.
I got in touch with Tim to ask if this was still going forward. Because the person who was championing it resigned for personal reasons from
Yeah.
the Conservation Commission, Kate Rosen.
Yeah.
So, he said that Diane Mercury McCarthy, I always want to change around her two names. Anyway, she said she would move forward with it. So as far as I know, this Jumping Worm public information session will occur on March 14th at 7 o'clock at the library. Your meeting doesn't start till 8, so, you know, and you do have business that you want to conduct. So if it's all right with you guys, if any of you are going to that session, I do not know if it's going to be televised. I'll find that out. But if it is, then you could just watch it at home and then we could go into your meeting. The other alternative is if you were physically attending that, then you could go home and we could go into the meeting at what, 8:20. I guess, you know, takes people time to get home and get the computers on and so forth.
Yeah, but-
So you don't, you know, you really should think about that. And, you know, you could probably even just mull it over and then let Chris know what you want to do and he could let me know.
Yeah, let's see if it's on TV. If it's on TV, Jerry, I think it makes it easier for everyone.
Oh, yeah, it does.
in a-
Yeah.
In a public session. And then we could, you know, continue on and we could talk about it as we, you know, at the meeting after, you know, we hear whatever they have to say at that time. I think to
Alright.
go to that meeting and then try to come back at 8:20 and try to do something, it's a
I
little
know.
hard for some of us, you know, some of us
Mhm.
have other commitments, whether they're taking care of an older parent, they have children, they have
Yeah.
work, you know, all these things. I mean, it just, there's not enough hours in the day anymore. And believe me, I ran out of hours a lot because there isn't a lot of them there. But I think if you send out a reminder, Jerry, let us know what's going on. And then I think that and let us know, and then we can make a, you know, decision between all of us here, you know, just send out emails to each one of us and then we can figure out how we want to handle that.
All right. I will check. I know she can't. I don't think that's, well, no, maybe they can. I don't know what the setup is over at the library, so I'll have to talk with Poor. And then
Okay.
I'll get back to you and let you know.
Okay. Alrighty. All right, let's move on to the next. It's the April 22nd invitation to the selectmen to tour lease properties. And it says identify the property for tour, approve the invitation letter for the selectmen. Christina, thank you for putting that letter together to the Board of Selectmen. I think that's I think it covers it pretty well. I would like them to come down. I know you want them to come to your property that you lease. I'd like them to come down to Litchfield Turnpike to next across the street from the Darling House. It has easy access, just like yours, Christina. And they can just walk a little and seeing some of the work that the state did. They took out, like where I am, they took out some of the invasive species and stuff, but some around the extra, some of the property and stuff. I think they'll get the drift of what we're trying to do. And maybe, you know, down the line, we can figure out a way how we can get some assistance from the state to help us out to clear out things and make it better. And that'd make it better for the town as well. So, and I thank you for putting that letter together. Does anybody have any feedback on, or Christina, you want to talk a little bit? about the letter and anything? Are you pretty good with it?
I think those two sites sound great.
Yeah.
Unless we want to do, I mean, we could totally do a third. That just seems like
Yeah.
maybe a lot of moving.
Yeah,
Well,
But I
the
think,
other, the other two sites, one is the hayfields,
Mhm.
that Chris, I'm sorry, Tim, Chris Hayes, which are all around the Darling House. And the other site is the Fitzgerald property, which they're very familiar with.
yeah, yeah, that's true.
So I think if you keep it at two sites, you have more of a chance of members of the selectmen wanting to attend, you know,
Okay.
than trucking around four different sites.
Right,
Yes.
exactly. Yeah.
and I don't think it'd take a little over an hour of their time
Mm-mm.
to, just to come down and walk it. We could have some discussion at each site and tell them what you're trying to do. I could tell them what I'm trying to do and try to move forward. So we don't waste anybody's time or energy. And they actually see it for themselves. I'm a big person of, you got to go see it. That person, you can take videos, you can look at it from pictures, but it's till you actually get there, I think you get a better concept of what you're trying to do.
Mhm.
That's my opinion. Do any of the other members have any input or any comments to any of this?
I
No?
just want to say thank you. Good job crafting this letter,
Yeah.
and I think it looks great, and this will be a great experience for the town. So, Paul, I hope you help encourage members to join in, if you're willing. And I apologize in advance for being abroad and not able to attend. I'll surely miss it.
And I wanted to, since, I just wanted to thank Paul for signing on tonight, just listening to a couple of our, what we're trying to do. I thank everyone for coming to the meeting tonight, being on. Does anybody have any more questions about anything? If they don't, I'm gonna make a motion to adjourn. Since there's no questions or anything.
Oh, may I just ask a quick question?
Yes, Jerry.
All right, so, Christina, will
Yes.
you complete the letter by putting in the two, sites?
Mhm. I'll put in the
And
sites. Is there a time that I should put on the invitation, or
I
time of
thought
day?
I thought that you had decided on 9 o'clock in
Yeah.
the
You did?
morning.
Oh, got it.
We'll
Yes,
start
I
right at
will.
yours, Christina. We'll start right at the top of the hill and go to the bottom of the hill.
Mhm.
Okay.
And then, do you want, forward that to me to disseminate it to the selectmen?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
I will do that, Jerry.
Well,
Thank you.
Mhm.
Do I have to make a motion to approve the letter, Jerry, before we,
Yes, I would like you to do that.
all right, okay, so I'm gonna make a motion, I'll make a motion to approve the letter that Christina wants to send to the Board of Selectmen. Do I have a second?
Andrea?
Yeah. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
That was unanimous, Jerry.
Mm-hmm.
And since we don't have any more comment, or questions, I think we can make a motion to adjourn the meeting for tonight. I'll make that motion. Do we have a second to adjourn the meeting? Steve, that's good. And we'll see everybody next month. And Jerry and I and everybody she'll get back to you with some emails of what's going on with Jumping Worm and a couple of the other things that we have going on. So thank you very much, and we'll see you then. Good night.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Good night.
you. Good
Thanks,
night.
Paul and Jerry.